Hey, welcome to another episode of Blank Bodies. Today we got a special guest. I've got a Descender here from Fantasy Audio Magazine. We're going to be talking about the project they've got on Kickstarter right now. It's a cassette tape and magazine release that covers new OSR adventures, content, kind of a mix of everything, and music to go along with it.
Hello, Blank Bodies.
Hey.
Hey.
Yeah, thanks for entertaining that. I'm a goof. How's it going?
Absolutely, I love it. Not
Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain, right?
exactly. So, yeah, tell us a little bit about what you're doing with Fantasy Audio Magazine. I know you're kickstarting issue 2 right now.
Yes, issue 2 and a reprint of issue 1.
Okay.
The very first run of tapes and zines, I've pretty much just funded myself. It doesn't take a whole mess of cash or anything, just a small pile. But I figure if I want to see this thing take wings, I need to throw some cheddar at it. So
Okay.
I'm happy to see that Kickstarter thought it was a good enough idea to allow me the opportunity to invite others to contribute to the project, and it's funded. We hit the goal. I need to come up with some stretch goals. I think there's a few things that we can do now. I'm absolutely appreciative of what we've got so far, so I'm not really looking to get anything else. I don't think that the OSR world or Dungeon Synth fans are the kind of people to, I don't know. We're all hardworking, broke nerds, so I understand.
Yeah. So you mentioned getting other people to contribute. Is most of the stuff on issue 1 and 2 stuff you've made yourself so far?
A good chunk of it. You'll see that there is a artist in the zine and on the tape, Leaf Butterfly. That would be me.
Okay.
Again, pay no mind to the man behind the curtain. But we've got a couple of other awesome artists as well. And with the first issue, there are about 4 or 5 different pieces of content. They're all game ready. We have a pretty creepy next level monster called the Shrike that I was very pleased with featuring. We got a few magic items, things like that. So not a whole lot, to be honest. The tape itself, the music is great. I could not have lucked out any better finding the people that were willing to work with me and put their work onto this tape. And I'm very pleased with how everything worked out. But that being said, there were only 20 physical copies made. And I think there are 2 left on Bandcamp at this recording. So I'm not complaining that people seem to like them. So that's great. I'm hoping to get some more made. And it looks like that'll be the case.
Awesome. So I used to play in some hardcore bands, metal bands. So I've done the self put out cassette thing before. Are you dubbing everything yourself, hand dubbing, or are you doing factory side, just sending them the audio and the art? And
when it comes to the tapes themselves, definitely factory side.
okay.
I've same. That's birds of a feather I see. I've definitely done the full DIY thing with my own music in the past, old punk rock kind of stuff, and dubbing all the tapes myself, and all the way down to buying letters to plug into a stamp and just inking every single tape myself. And I figure with this, that was all years ago. I'm an old man of nearly 30 now, so I don't know. I am using that as a great excuse to not have to put that much more elbow grease into what's already felt like a ton of work. So
No, that's definitely fair. Well, tape dubbing machines are getting so expensive now too. It's a
oh, for sure.
I love the DIY aesthetic, but when you're paying $500 just to get the machine to dub them, it kind of starts to flip which side of things you want to be on.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've still got my audio rig right here in my studio slash the room in the apartment where I get to keep all of my dumb stuff. And I've got my Harman Kardon tape deck over there, and I could just copy each tape by hand if I wanted to just never get that time back. But you know what? The factory route exists for a very nice reason, I think.
Oh yeah. Um, so as far as like the content in the magazine and the tape, I know the tape, it's music. It's not really system focused, but is the stuff in the magazine kind of system agnostic? Or have you focused on a specific rule set?
Well, it's pretty system agnostic. Yes, I don't think there's anything that's really prohibiting it from being used in any system whatsoever. I do promote old school essentials on the release itself
Okay.
because that is the rule set that I've been using. I teach middle school, and we have a D&D club after school that I started every Wednesday, and I teach them old school essentials. So I suppose it's just my pet rule set, but I mean, other than the armor classes listed for, say, a given monster or something, it's extremely agnostic for sure.
Okay. Yeah, because I've heard great things about that setting, but I've never actually gotten to sit down and play it. I have a friend who that's all he'll play anymore, but they have like a group that plays very consistently. So I've never gotten to sit down and like join in on it, but I've heard great things so far.
I definitely suggest it. Yeah, from Necrotic Gnome, I believe. They're pretty cool. And I mean, it's the community is absolutely saturated with all kinds of great rule sets and just gaming frameworks that you could use. But I've found old school essentials works best for me, especially with new players. Here's the thing: having that club at my work and exposing a bunch of brand new players to the world of tabletop RPGs, I've found, especially for the young folks, that what they really want to do is play and roll dice and do all of the stuff that they saw on like Stranger Things for half my kids. And they're not as bought in yet on the thorough, deep background building and role playing of, say, your fifth editions. And I love that too. I love doing that. Like I mentioned before we hit record, my name Descender just comes from one of my favorite characters I've ever rolled up. But I think old school rule sets, just the basic and expert editions of everyone's favorite fantasy role playing game, they cut out a lot of the superfluous stuff that I think, in my opinion, scares away a lot of new players. They're kind of overwhelmed by all the weird rules anyway. If you really take a big step back, it's a bunch of people sitting around a table rolling weird dice, and it probably is like esoteric and weird. So if you get rid of a lot of the things that, frankly, a lot of us do enjoy about role playing and just cut it down to the basics, I think that it's more inviting to the absolutely uninitiated brand new player. So I've found that to be the most successful for a general approach to gaming. This is all, of course, my opinion.
Yeah, no, but that makes sense. I'm running a 5e campaign for some friends, and about half the group had never played a tabletop game before. So we decided we'll just do new edition of D&D. It's the most supported online. We can look up any questions we might have. They've all heard of D&D and wanted to try it out. So it's like a good fit, but there's a lot of rules where like backgrounds. One of my players was like, oh, my character's like from a noble family. They'd have the noble background. Not really think about it and like, oh, well, that means I get followers and stuff. Well, how does followers work? So now they're keeping track of like 2 extra people while they're trying to play the campaign, and that they never even planned on, but they're like, yeah, I'm a noble, I guess I get this now. And it's adding all these extra things on top that we just hadn't even planned until last minute, filling everything out. And they're like, oh, okay, well,
Yeah.
what can they do? And that was another like 20 minutes of looking up how followers work after. So taking
Exactly.
out
And that's really fun for, I think, experienced players like us. And we like getting our hands dirty, and we like flipping through the pages and finding obscure specific rules, because you'll remember it. And in that off chance that this odd situation comes up again in the future, you have memorized that. And that's another rule that, accumulating this giant ball of miscellaneous 5th edition rules in your mental repertoire. But I've noticed for running a game to less intense, more casual players, usually when you're thumbing through a rule book or the rules tome or a player's handbook, that's when people start flipping through the phone. That's when people that haven't really gotten it yet, so to speak, kind of drift away. Or like, that's maybe another way of saying it is like, that's when they identify like, oh, maybe this isn't quite for me because this isn't that fun.
yeah.
So I I love that kind of thing personally. Though I absolutely understand for absolute newcomers that can be kind of intimidating. So anyway, circling all the way back, that's why I like to go with Old School Essentials. It's just the one that I've been most impressed with. Though the releases that I've been working on, I've been trying really hard to keep it absolutely system agnostic for sure. I'd like in the future to branch out and make other releases. Like right now, the flagship release of Fantasy Audio Magazine, Candle.
Yeah.
Why you've got the two names there. Fantasy Audio Magazine, in my vision, is us. It's this, and I would like the Candle series to continue, but I absolutely have hope that there can be other releases. I think a sci-fi release would be really cool. Or Mork Borg is blowing up, maybe doing something kind of crazy for that. I think that would be really cool. But for right now, sticking with what I know,
Yeah.
right down the middle. And so far the ball's rolling, and I'm really pleased with that. So I'm glad that you're pretty intrigued by it too, and that you've invited me onto your wonderful podcast that I've been checking out over the afternoon, actually. And I am very curious. I believe it was John who was trying to think of a name for his dog.
Yes.
What's the scoop, buddy? What's the word? Is it still an N name, or did he move past that?
He kept with an N name. He wanted to keep them the same. I believe he ended up going with Nanashi, which is the Japanese for no name.
For no name. I remember that. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I've wanted to ask, so I'm glad I found a way to squeeze that into our conversation.
Yeah.
my girlfriend and I talk about like what would be a good cat or dog name, almost down to like a meme at this point. Yeah. Similarly with knuckle tats, it's kind of an obsession, like just a set of 2 4-letter words. Like, oh, that would be a good knuck tat. On occasion, it makes you chuckle. Same with good cat and dog names. So I'm happy to hear that he found one.
Yeah, I have a buddy who's a tattoo artist, and we had a list going of all the different like good knuckle tats you could get.
I see.
Like so, by theme. Because he was always joking about getting Bone Zone on his knuckles.
That's awesome. Yeah. See, you're a man of culture as well. Yeah.
But I'm kind of swayed his mind when I let him know that you could also fit the word erection on your knuckles.
Yes, you can, can't you? Just imagine. See, it's funny. A couple of years ago, we were hanging out at some like summer camp that my girlfriend and a few of her friends used to go to, and they just opened it up to, I don't know if alumni is the right word, but it was just a bunch of grown-ups hanging out at some old summer camp, whatever. And there was some guy there, a friend of a friend, and his knuck tats were all together Son of God, which I guess as a unit is like, I don't know, kind of heavy metal, I guess, pretty cool. Yeah. But when you're looking at just his hands, which hilariously was the precursor to all of the conversations about it, would be people just saw one hand and they'd be like, Sono? And the other one would be F God. I was like, what's up with your nut tats, bro? Like every single time you'd have to like do the thing where you like, I don't know, coolly bump them together. And,
yeah.
And I was like, okay, I get it. But it was kind of confusing and funny before that.
Yeah. See, my first thought would be that he was like a noise music fan. He just really likes Sono.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
That would be cool. That would actually be kind of a cool knuck tat. You can get the sun on one and then just all of the end parentheses on the other one.
Yeah. So back to Candle. Yeah. So it's looking like each issue has about 4 pieces in the actual magazine. And then what would you say, about an hour of music?
Yeah, I'm shooting for about 60 minutes at least on each tape. And I know we can squeeze, I mean, cassette tapes are something I've always been a fan of since I was a kid. And so I'm psyched that there's this big resurgence of them. So I know we can squeeze about 90 minutes onto those suckers, but I want to keep at least an hour, make it really worth somebody's while if they appreciate ambient or dungeon synth. Or I'll tell you what, Hunter, one thing I've been struggling with over the past 5 or so months that I've been working on it is finding a good blanket word for those genres that might be applicable to like tabletop RPG gaming ambiance. Like we've got dungeon synth, we've got ambient, dark dark ambient. I don't know. You like music.
Yeah.
The list goes on as long as you want it to, but I think fantasy audio is where we landed, and that's where we got the general name, I suppose. And look, the first issue has 4 artists, about 15 minutes each, and the second one is almost done. And it looks like it's going to be a little bit different, roughly 15 minutes for each, but there's a couple that have maybe 2 songs, a couple with maybe 3 shorter songs. So there's nothing about this release is that rigid, other than the philosophy of, are you proud of it? Do you think it's cool? Are you a normal person that can't just like release stuff, throw it our way? We don't really make any money or anything. Any profit goes into funding the next one, so it's just a vehicle for normal people like the rest of us. So
yeah, that's awesome. It kind of reminds me of like old school compilations. This kind of like went away towards the end of the 90s, early 2000s. Wasn't really worth putting out a CD with like one song from like 20 bands anymore when the internet came along. But this is an interesting way to kind of bring that back and tie it to something outside of music directly.
Yeah, I think so too. And in my opinion, I don't know, I'm an avid fan of music and gaming. And I wrote a brief little thing at the very beginning of issue 1's magazine component. But that intersection of gaming and music, I don't know, I just love exploring that. It's not as commonly utilized or embraced as other aspects of gaming. And I don't know, I'm probably speaking vaguely. I guess what I'm getting at is like, there are zines all over the place. There's infinite content to boost your gaming experience, and I love that. And likewise, the dungeon synth, etc. World is huge. Like one collective out in, I think, based in Italy that I'm a pretty big fan of, Heimat der Katastrophe. They're really cool. If you're not familiar with them, check them out. Very punk rock DIY, but they release a lot of like dungeon synth and post-nuclear wave and all of these really cool home like ground level real people released music. So anyway, the intersection of those two worlds that are thriving, I don't really see that much stuff out there in the middle, and so I'm excited to leverage myself into trying to make that more of a accessible thing for people. I don't know, I'm excited about it, and I'm happy to see that it's coming along.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, things like Fantasy Grounds and some of these online tabletops have their own built-in like ambient music, and then you'll have some of the bigger companies like Deadlands or like for the Ravenloft setting, like the big companies will release like a CD's length of like music.
Yeah.
There's really nothing like in between. It's either that or you go to like a generic YouTube video and be like, I need horror music docs. And
yeah.
you just
10
get
hours like cave dripping.
Yeah. So, but to go back on something you said earlier, I think fantasy audio is a really good name for the kind of genre, just because like you're saying, like you talk, hey, it would be cool if we did like a sci-fi release or something like that. Well, if you're doing like sci-fi ambient, that borderline becomes like synthwave. So I think fantasy audio does really encompass all of it beyond just like dungeon synth or ghost house or whatever is like applicable to the game that's actually being played and focused on.
Well, I appreciate that. I feel the same way. I think that pretty much does it. One thing that I'm a big believer in and is behind a lot of the machine with this project is that I don't believe in being prohibitive to anyone. Like if I say it's a dungeon synth release, then like that's really cool, and there's probably people that would be into that, but then there might be other people that are like, oh, okay, that's not for me, like right off the bat, because that's how we work, and there's nothing wrong with that, but that's how it goes. And I don't want to be prohibitive to those people, because there's a lot of really interesting like ambient or just space kind of music. I don't know. The list goes on. That's a moot point. It's just, I don't want to have anyone feeling like we're not for them. It's a bric-a-brac that I want to be accessible and inviting for anyone that is passionate about something that they have created that would not exist if they did not take the time to create it, and to make a vehicle for that that's available to anybody that is excited about it is the real endeavor behind this.
Yeah. And I'm not super into like specific genres, but I do think it's kind of funny. Like with dungeon synth, I guess it's called like comfy synth now,
Yeah,
but it's
yeah,
like the dungeon synth music that's real happy. Like I like Earth and Cloak, just the like real happy like gnome village music. Like yeah, I'll put that on while I'm sitting around like reading or working on stuff. But I mean, even like dungeon synth is like turning into other genres because people are
for
like,
sure.
this is too different from like what used to be the intro to a black metal album.
Oh
That
yeah, the overlap is nuts, and I mean it. What even makes something properly dungeon synth these days? And speaking of comfy synth, I popped and said that I was just talking about that not too long ago. Actually, are you familiar with Grandma's Cottage?
no, I'm not.
Should check out Grandma's Cottage. I think that they or whomever released only two of them, I believe, and it's like pulling teeth getting a physical copy off of Discogs or something. But it's awesome.
Nice.
Should
I,
check out Grandma's Cottage.
I will. Have you listened to Tiny Mouse?
You know what? It rings a distant bell. I think I've encountered that name before, but no, I don't. Off the top of my head, I don't think I have.
They have a pretty cool album. It's called Little One's Journey, but it's one of
Oh,
my
yeah. Okay. No, I ran into that on YouTube. That would be the distant bell. I have run into Tiny Mouse. Yeah.
yeah. I just love stuff like that. It's great for just like sitting around having a cup of tea and relaxing in the morning.
I think that music is the backdrop to just about. I don't know. I play music anytime I'm running a game. I incorporate some kind of audio element. I always have, and we listen to music in the car, walking around the street. I don't know. It's all the time. So why not incorporate that into your gaming? In my experience with my friends and at a brand new table I've never been to with some people I just met, it's not that often in my experience that I find people playing some music to boost the immersion of the game. So I can't change that. I don't really want to. People should play the way they want to, but I sure like to incorporate that. So it feels good to be making something happen.
No, I think music's great for new players too. It kind of fill those awkward moments where people are trying to figure out what they want to do, or they're just trying to take a second to understand what's actually happening in front of them. Like just a little bit of like ambient music kind of will fill that space and take a lot of the tension out, I feel like.
Yeah, for sure. Especially if they're new players. They're just taking back to by now the wealth of hours I have with brand new players. It's hard to know if you just rolled your first character, you don't understand what half of the things on this character sheet even mean. You don't really know how to play, or at least feel confident in how to play, let alone do you know how to feel. So
Yeah.
incorporating music just helps, I think, a player feel more comfortable, even if you want them to feel uncomfortable, even if something ominous is afoot, or a bad decision is about to grow wings and come after them. Then letting them know with a little bit of that spooky ambiance, much like say in a video game or something, that's no different in my opinion. So letting them know how they should feel, or using music to encourage them to feel a certain way and they don't yet know why. I don't know, the sky's the limit. It's a toolbox, man. So however you can use it, I think people should use it.
Yeah, and I mean, I've heard a lot of people discuss like the difference between scaring your players and scaring their characters. And like a little music can really kind of bridge that gap and kind of smooth that over. Because there's plenty of times where like I'm playing a big barbarian. Oh no, the spooky Cthulhu thing. Well, I'm still gonna hit it with my axe.
Right.
And or like character being like, okay, well, that's I'm actually a little like off put by that, but you know what? There's like kind of triumphant music, and I guess we're gonna still go all in on it. You can
Mm-hmm.
kind of help set a tone with that music that otherwise might.
Yeah. One thing I like to do, I personally, I not so much with this project, I guess, because I don't want to throw too much weight around for something that I want to be community based and inviting, but something that's a massive inspiration to me personally when it comes to making music are my favorite video games that I played growing up. My favorite console still is the PS1. I find myself, the older I get, the more I'm shying away from brand new games because they just don't. I find that I just don't have as much fun as I once did with the games I already know I like. So, like a massive influence on that would be like, say, the original Resident Evil. You open a door, what's going to be inside? And then there's the peaceful, relaxing music. And you're like, oh, thank God.
Yeah.
I found the save room. Yes. And that kind of thing, I don't know, just little techniques like that employing into your arsenal when you're a game master. Like you hear all these noises. You've slayed some mysterious beast in the purple fog everywhere. You open the door and there's some relaxing music or something. Like, oh thank God. Or like, I don't know. It's just adds that extra dimensionality to your game that I don't know. I really like to do. I really like to use. Whatever.
Yeah. So as far as like the written side of the magazine, is there any pieces that you're like particularly proud of that you or someone else has put together for it? I know you mentioned the Shrike earlier.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a pretty cool monster. He's as I understand it, an extra dimensional beast who arrives to terrorize you in reflections of things, whether it's, I believe, the original author posed it as whether it's from a mirror or surface of water or another player's eyes. They're like these featherless bird-like semi-humanoid freaky extra dimensional beasts. That was pretty awesome. I got it right here. Let me check. I don't want to falsely attribute. Right, Gabriel Hanley. Mr. Gabriel Hanley gave us Garda's collected catalog of curios. I think it's one of the features in issue 1 that might be, on the one hand, like easier to just like flip past and say like, all right, what else do we have in here? But there is a lot of cool stuff in there. We have 5 magic items that I think are very creative. As far as other written pieces, the very first issue, there are about 4 or 5 different pieces in general, including a composers section where all of the contributors of music have an opportunity to just offer a few words, whether that's a bio or like a companion story, anything. It's wide open. There's nothing in specific that I want them to offer. But as far as what I'm proud of, I guess I'm just proud of all of that, and I'm proud that it even came together in the first place. And I'm really excited about issue 2 because it sounds like it's going to be bigger and feature a lot more stuff in the magazine, which is great because that's what I sort of hope for anyway. Issue 1 is, I think it's maybe 20 pages, just as a proof of concept, I suppose. And I don't know, the next one has a general theme of the night. So whatever that means to whomever, I'm into it. And from what I'm getting so far, a lot of these pieces and submissions and a lot of the music sounds really inspired. And I think it's going to be really cool. I think it's going to blow issue 1 out of the water.
Nice. I'm excited. I was planning on getting the set with both tapes, so I'm excited to check those out.
I can't wait to send them off to you.
Yeah. I did notice looking at the Kickstarter that you are based out of Kentucky. Mm-hmm. Just a quick question. Do you happen to know, because I know there's a big line between like Dungeon Synth and black metal and stuff like that. Do you happen to know the guys in Black Knife?
I do not.
Oh, they're a local like black metal hardcore band. I was just curious, maybe.
Oh, I'd like to go catch them then. That would be cool. No, I haven't run into them too much. A few years back when I first moved up to, well, I came up from Louisville, Kentucky up to Cincinnati and was there for a couple of years and had my ear to the ground on awesome local bands and artists and stuff. And a few years have gone by and swept up in a career, and I'm back on the right side of the river again, as I would put it, over in Kentucky. No shade to Ohio or anything. But no, I'm not familiar with Black Knife. Black Knife, right?
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna check them out. That's really cool. Maybe I can catch a show.
Yeah. I used to play Ohio. I will say Ohio had some of the wildest shows I've ever been to.
Yeah, there's a huge community of like just noise.
Yeah.
Noise artists over in Ohio, like over in the north side of Cincinnati. It's like, I don't know. Years ago when I was living in Louisville, which is pretty famous for a thriving arts community and music scene at any point in time. It's just a constant. I thought I'd seen it all down there, but coming up to Cincinnati, I was pretty impressed. There's a lot of good music out here. I'm excited about Black Knife. I will not forget that. That's pretty cool. Maybe I can catch a show if they're doing that. I know not everybody's doing anything right now. So
yeah, part of the reason we started this podcast was with everything going on, and just felt like music wasn't doing anything. I ended up quitting my band at the time and doing this instead. I felt like kind of the same creating something and sharing it and making like a smaller community, but instead of being based around like music and drinking, we could do around like tabletop games, which is what I find myself doing more often than going to shows anymore anyway. So
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. It's funny how things develop,
yeah.
I don't know. Things tend to mature a bit. Not that jamming and drinking is not mature. I don't know. Some would say it's immature, I guess, but I think that that's always a good time.
Oh yeah.
Can't say I've been doing a whole lot of that these days. What with teaching and I don't know, trying to keep a semi-clean apartment and picking up after these dang cats all the time. But yeah, I understand. It was the past couple of years have been I don't know, unprecedented TM.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I'm excited to see what comes of this project. It's just a passion project of mine. It's been really fulfilling. I kind of lose my mind if I don't have some kind of creative project.
Yeah.
And here lately, it sounds like you understand what I mean. And here lately, having this as an outlet, a creative outlet, not only for myself but to open the door so widely to other people, I'm really excited about that. I don't know. I appreciate the opportunity to come talk with you.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. Is there anything else you want to cover before we go? I'll make sure we link the Patreon and or not Patreon, sorry, the Kickstarter and your Instagram and the notes and all that. But
oh, you know what? Other than that, I think that'll just about do it. I'm excited that so many people are taking a look at Fantasy Audio Magazine and the Candle series, and it feels good. I'm sure you understand what it's like to spend creative energy on something that never really goes anywhere, because that's kind of the norm. If
yeah,
you're a musician or God only knows, it's not really about things taking off and notoriety and all of that. It's just the expression. And
yeah,
to see something actually picking up some kind of steam, it feels really cool. So I'm motivated and I'm really excited to get issue 2 out of there. And if I can say anything, I guess if anybody's got any suggestions for Kickstarter stretch goals, or even something that you want to see, or an innovation to the release itself, I'm all ears. You can find us on Instagram through Bandcamp. That Kickstarter is going to be active for at least another month or so. We're all ears. This is my first time ever doing something like this. It's not like I'm going to big league you or anything. So any suggestions are always appreciated.
awesome. Well, if you ever do a horror related issue, I might shake off my old witch house project.
Please do. That would be really cool. I would really like to do that, actually. That would be awesome.
Hell yeah.
Well, I thanks again for reaching out to me. I am excited to keep listening to your podcast. I was really intrigued. I hit play for the first episode, at least the most recent episode, just to dip my toes in. And y'all are a bunch of goofballs. I love it.
Yeah.
Keep listening.
Do you have much Vampire the Masquerade experience? Have you ever played it yourself?
I've not, but
I think it's in a really interesting place in the gaming world right now, because it used to be like, it was the game that kind of upset D&D in the 90s. People were like, oh, this is going to be the next big thing. And then they never really changed editions. And it just kind of turned into this big hulking beast of a game to try and get into, like 200 books into a single game line. It's kind of a monster just to figure out what's going on. But they re-released a couple years ago. And so we're trying to help like new players get in without feeling like intimidating. And they've really, they've updated it to like a more modern setting. They actually do like, well, shit, what would happen if like some random kid with a cell phone recorded you doing vampire shit on the street? Like that's a major problem in like modern day that you wouldn't have to deal with in like 1993. So like doing a new update to the setting and like I think really helps it.
Yeah, I'd say that's a pretty awesome concept, actually. I appreciate you. I don't know. It sounds like I'm exactly the audience that you're hoping to help. It reminds me a bit of years ago. I played my very first Legend of Zelda game, which is one of the more absurd things in my game fan history, is that I'd never really played any of them. There's so many, and I just felt so intimidated, and so I just never played any. And this feels a little bit like that by the sound of it. So I'm going to be checking that out, and I don't know. Hopefully, maybe you can be my Sherpa up that mountain.
Hey, hopefully.
Yeah, I would like that very much.
All right. Well, thanks again for coming on.